You know, life has a funny way of throwing you curveballs. For me, it all started on an ordinary Tuesday evening. I was heading home from work, cruising down that familiar country road that cuts through Juniper Creek. It was quiet, peaceful, exactly the kind of evening I usually cherished. Little did I know, everything was about to change. I work as a mechanic at Pinewood General. Nothing fancy, just a small shop where people bring in their beat-up trucks and worn-down sedans. It's honest work, and I take pride in it. My hands always smell like motor oil, and there's grease permanently under my nails, but I wouldn't trade it for anything. Fixing things, that's what I do. Cars, appliances, even the occasional neighbor's leaky faucet. It's just how I was raised. If someone needs help, you lend a hand. That night, as I rounded a bend, I saw her. A silver sedan was pulled over on the side of the road, hazard lights flashing. Standing beside it was a woman, pacing nervously. She was dressed like she'd just come from an office, heels, pencil skirt, the whole 9 yards, but she looked frazzled, like she'd been at this for a while. I slowed down and rolled down my window. "Everything okay?" I called out. She turned to me, relief washing over her face. "Oh, thank God," she said, her voice trembling. "The car just stopped. I have no idea what's wrong." I parked my truck a few feet ahead and hopped out. "Pop the hood. Let me take a look." She hesitated for a second, then nodded and pressed the release. "Thank you," she said. "I'm Amber, by the way, Amber Sterling." "Jackson Carter," I replied with a smile as I lifted the hood and peeked inside. "Let's see what we're working with here." It didn't take long to figure it out. A loose battery connection. Easy fix. I tightened the cable, wiped my hands on an old rag I kept in my truck, and gave the engine a little tap. "Try it now," I said. She climbed into the driver's seat while I turned the key, and the engine roared to life. The relief on her face was palpable as she stepped out of the car. "You're a lifesaver," she said, beaming. "I don't even know how to thank you." "No thanks needed," I said, shaking my head. "Just glad I could help." But she insisted. She pulled out her wallet, trying to hand me cash, but I held up my hands. "I don't take money for helping someone," I told her. "You're good to go now. Just get that connection checked out soon." Amber looked at me like I'd just spoken a foreign language. Finally, she said, "At least let me take your number. I want to send you a proper thank you." I hesitated, but eventually gave it to her. I figured she'd send a gift card or maybe flowers, something small and polite. I didn't think much of it as I drove home that night. After all, it wasn't the first time I'd helped a stranger, and it wouldn't be the last. Turns out, I had no idea what I'd just gotten myself into. The next morning, I was sitting at my kitchen table, enjoying my coffee, when I heard a car pull into my driveway. Glancing out the window, I nearly choked on my toast. A sleek black SUV was parked out front, and 2 men in tailored suits were stepping out. I opened the door cautiously. "Can I help you?" One of the men stepped forward. He was tall, clean-cut, and looked like he belonged in a high-rise office building, not my little neighborhood. "Mr. Carter?" he asked. "That's me," I said slowly. "We're here on behalf of Miss Amber Sterling," he explained. "She asked us to deliver this." He handed me a thick envelope. I took it, my curiosity piqued, and opened it right there on the porch. Inside was a handwritten note. "Jackson, your kindness reminded me of something my late father used to say. Never forget where you came from. I'd like to repay your generosity by investing in your community. Enclosed are the details of a project I hope you'll lead. I'll be in touch soon. With gratitude, Amber Sterling." I reached into the envelope and pulled out a stack of papers. It was a proposal, a fully funded plan to build an automotive training center right here in Juniper Creek with me as the director. The center would teach young people trade skills and even offer scholarships. My jaw practically hit the floor. "Is this some kind of joke?" I asked the men. "Not at all," the taller one said with a faint smile. "Miss Sterling is quite serious." I stared at the documents, my head spinning. This wasn't some token thank you. This was life-changing. Over the next few weeks, Amber and I talked, at first over the phone, then in person. She flew back to Juniper Creek several times to meet with me and the town council. It turned out she wasn't just some corporate drone. She was the CEO of Sterling Dynamics, a billion-dollar company. "I want this center to be something special," she told me during one of her visits. "A place that changes lives the way you changed mine. I'll admit, I was skeptical at first. People don't usually do things like this without a catch. But Amber seemed genuine. The more I got to know her, the more I realized she wasn't just trying to write a check and walk away. She wanted to make a real difference. And she did. The training center became the heart of our little town. We trained dozens of kids in its first year alone. Some went on to work in the local shops, while others started their own businesses or even landed jobs with big-name companies. But it wasn't all smooth sailing. Not everyone trusted Amber's motives. Some folks whispered that she was just using us for good PR. Others thought she'd get bored and pull out, leaving us high and dry. Even I had my doubts sometimes, especially when I learned about her family's influence and the power dynamics at play. It all came to a head one night when Amber finally told me the truth. I wasn't just on a business trip that night, she confessed. We were sitting on the steps of the training center watching the sunset. I was running away from the person I'd become. I frowned. What do you mean? My father built Sterling Dynamics with a focus on giving back. But after he passed, I lost sight of that. That night, when my car broke down, I was heading to finalize a deal that would have closed a factory in a small town just like this one. Hundreds of jobs lost, families devastated. She paused, her voice breaking slightly. Your kindness, it made me stop and think. It reminded me of who I wanted to be. Her words hit me like a punch to the gut. I'd never thought of my small act of kindness as anything more than that. But to her, it had been a turning point. It's been 5 years now since that fateful night. The training center has grown, and so have I. I'm still the same guy, still living in my modest house on the edge of town. But now I get to wake up every day knowing I'm part of something bigger, something that matters. Amber, she's become a close friend, a part of our community. Together we've built more than just a training center, we've built a legacy. And it all started with a flat tire on the side of the road.